My name is Shelby Prindaville, and I'm an artist working in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I currently work for Louisiana State University, and through my work here, I became involved in a collaboration with chemistry professor John Poyman. Professor Poyman is the CEO of a company called 3P, which stands for Poyman Polymer Products, and it's launching a line of art mediums and clays. And I've been alpha and beta testing these products, and I'm here to give you a demonstration video of some of the things that they can do. The first medium I'd like to talk about is the 3P QuickCure Clay, and then we'll move on to some of the other ones. Now, 3P QuickCure Clay, like plaster or like oil paints, can be caustic to your skin, so you want to wear gloves when you're working with it. And it's also going to stick to the gloves a little bit unless you oil the gloves. And in fact, oil is going to be a big help with coating the tools too, because it's going to make it so that it doesn't stick. And 3P QuickCure Clay is a mixture of acrylites, peroxides, and inorganic fillers. But it has properties about it that make it one of the most exciting new sculptural mediums on the market. And I don't think it's hyperbole to tell you it is one of my favorite things ever. So I'm going to grab some. And just like if you were working with standard clay, you want to work it a little bit, knead it, mush it together, make sure that it's warmed up for you. And QuickCure Clay is just, it has so many unique properties. It is able to be cured by a embossing heat gun. I'm going to show you what that looks like. That means that it's kiln-free, it's oven-free, and it's permanently workable until it's cured. So you could leave this lump that I'm working on the table for a month, and when you came back, you'd want to mix it back up a little bit, but then it would still be completely ready for you to work with it and then to cure it when you wanted to. And then once you cure it, which is done again by applying heat till it reaches about 100 degrees Celsius, and then it causes the chemical reaction that cures the medium. Then once you've cured it, you can actually still add more wet medium to it, and you can batch cure. So you can harden one part and then still work on another part, and so you end up being able to create sort of internal armatures that allow you to get a real sense of space and height and support that other mediums can't really provide. So I've worked it a lot. I think it's ready to be used. And I'm going to work on both a metal surface and a wood surface so you can see the differences. 3P QuickCure Clay doesn't stick to metal. So it's great if you want a freestanding piece to work on something that you coat in aluminum foil or some other type of metal. However, if you want it to stick, I've already attached a little piece here for you. It will stick and adhere really well to wood. And it'll also bind chemically with paper, and I'm going to show you more about that as well later. But as you can see, this piece that I already attached to the wood is really on there, so I'm going to show you what that looks like as well. So I'm going to tear off a little piece, and you can mold this the same way you're going to mold any clays. Since I'm going to work in a smaller quantity today, I'm just going to use a sculptural wooden knife and actually a palette knife, because even though palette knives are more commonly used in painting, the fact that it's metal again means that because this doesn't stick to metal, it's a great tool for working in with detail. And again, just like I said before, you might want to get some oil on these tools too so that it doesn't stick so much. I'm actually using a little tumbler that I filled with some peanut oil, which came from my kitchen. You can also use mineral oil, vegetable oil, just whatever, standard oil you have lying around. But again, it's not something you actually want to mix into the clay. You're just using it to sort of make the surface less adherent to both your gloves and the tools that you're working with. Okay, so I just did a little mock-up of something here. I'm going to show you some full-blown sculptures that I've done, but just for the purposes of this demo, I don't think you want to sit here watching me sculpt all day. So I've created this little beginning of a lizard because I tend to work with ecologically based artwork. And right now, my current subject matter tends to be a type of species of lizard called an anole. So this is a little mock-up of a head and part of a body of an anole. And now if I want him to lay flat, I can just put him on the metal and cure him like this, but I think I want him to sort of be coming up. So in that case, what I can do is again use some foil and put him on that foil in such a way, and I mean I can decide how I want to put him, but put him on in such a way that he's going to come up. And so then when I'm ready, I can use this embossing heat gun that I have, and you know, for safety I can go ahead and put on goggles, but this is a pretty safe procedure. It is good to do this in a ventilated area though, because it does create a little bit of smoke, more smoke if you end up using a little too much oil. And although that's non-toxic, it's something that, you know, a ventilated area just like you use if you're using oil paints or if you're using spray paints or polyurethane or something, you know, you just want to do that with this too. So once you're ready, you're going to turn on your heat gun, and then you're going to try to cure it evenly and not too hot in any one space. Alright, so I can see a little bit of smoke starting, and if you've tried to heat it uniformly and then you see smoke going, you'll actually be able to stop heating it and the chemical reaction will continue. So you can just let it be and it's going to keep curing all the way through. Now during this period, you want to make sure that you don't touch it, because since it's still curing, the parts that aren't cured yet might move and you might warp the piece, and it's also, where it is curing, quite hot. And in fact, even after it cures, I want to let it sit for a couple minutes so that I don't burn myself when I touch it. So I'm going to let that sit for a minute. And I'm going to go ahead and make another piece that's going to go on the same sculpture, because again, I can do batch curing with this, which is something unlike most sculptural mediums. So I'm going to take full advantage of that. And I'm going to create a tail for my little lizard. And I'm going to go ahead and use some more balled up aluminum to sort of give it a height that it might not otherwise be able to achieve on its own. Alright, and if you're going to do something on sort of light aluminum foil, you might need to sort of block it down so that it doesn't blow away when you put the heat gun on it. And so again, while I'm doing this, the head is already dried, it's just a little hot right now, so I'm letting it cool off. But I'm going to go ahead and do this tail. Alright, and it's starting to smoke. Alright, so I'm going to let that dry as well. And this is still probably a little too hot for me to touch, but I want you to see how durable it is. Look at that. It's not going to break. It's really quite strong. The tail I could probably snap if I wanted to, or if I threw it across the room, but it's not just going to sort of break apart like maybe air dry clay would. It's a pretty strong medium in general. Okay, so while those are both cooling off a little bit, I want to show you what it's like to not work on aluminum. So I'm going to go back over to this wood piece that I've done. I'm going to attach another little spiked mound. Alright, and again, so this actually does chemically bond with the wood. So if you're working on wood directly and you want it to adhere to the wood, you can just attach it, and once you cure it, it's going to be attached. There's no need for glue or anything. Alright, and I can see it's starting to smoke, so I can let it go ahead and finish that. And at this point, the head is probably, it's still going to be warm, but I can probably manage to touch it. The tail is going to be even hotter because we fired it second, but I want you to be able to see. So there we have this sort of high arcing tail that can go all the way up in the air, and it's firm. And so I'm going to create a body that's going to connect that head to that tail. Alright, so again, And he's actually starting to look a little bit like I'm not even sure what, maybe a seahorse or something. But I'm just kind of doing a really quick and dirty version for you. I would take a little bit longer and be a little more careful if I was sculpting this for anything other than a demo. But as you can see, we've got a hard head and a hard tail and a soft body, and I can cure the body and it's going to hold the whole thing together. And then if I'd like, I can go ahead and add some legs, and it probably will start looking more like a lizard and less like a seahorse. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on some foil again so that I can make sure it's not going to be flat. And if I want that tail to keep arcing up, I can go ahead and hold that up a little bit better too. I'm going to go ahead, get my uncured lump out of the way. Alright, and that's starting to cure. And if I'd like, I can actually at this point, while it's still hot, go ahead and sprinkle some embossing powder on it, and that will melt and it will actually form almost like an enamel-like surface on it. I could also have painted this with acrylic paint before it had, before I cured it, and then curing it would actually have dried the acrylic paint on it. I could also wait, obviously, until it's dry, and then I could paint it with really any type of paint. I actually tend to work in both three-dimensional and two-dimensional media, and in my two-dimensional media, I primarily work with watercolor, so I've experimented with applying watercolor to this as well, and that works. So really anything that you'd like would work. And let's let him go ahead and cool. And while that's cooling, you can see that our second wood spike has adhered. Okay, so let's look at our body now. So now you can see we've got a tail that arcs up into space. It's hard. If I wanted, I could probably snap it, but it's certainly not going to just fall off or crumble. This is not going to dissolve in water. If you left it in water for a couple years, it might start to dissolve, but unlike, you know, unfired clay or something, you could definitely put this in water for even up to, probably a couple months without any damage. And that batch cure process means that I can just keep working on this. I can decide to add some legs, I can paint it again, I can heat it up again and add enamel, embossing powder, really whatever I'd like to do. So I'm going to show you some close-ups of some sculptures I actually have finished, and you'll be able to see some of the detail that I've been able to achieve with this medium.